I'll start the questions again. Did you spoil any of your children, grandchildren, or great-grandchildren?
Well, we could ask the kids on that. What do you say, kids?
No.
I don't know that we did.
Spoil them? Not one of
Spoil them?
the only one we had to take care of more was Brian, because when the girls all went to school, then I had to take care of Brian.
No.
I guess. I don't know what he did.
Okay, do you consider yourself a strict or lenient parent?
Strict.
I'll answer that one.
What'd you say, Ruth?
I said I'll answer that one.
Oh.
We know the answer to that one.
I'm not sure about this question, Brian. In what ways could you treat your children differently?
We did or could, or what did you
Yeah,
say?
how did you?
How could you treat Jean differently than Kathy? Their personalities, could you treat Kathy differently?
I think Kathy was
She was a good teacher for him. I think she one that told him how to put all the pillows on the steps and then they could roll down the pillows on Sunday. When we were
and
trying to
she
take a
took
nap.
care of Jeannie pretty good too. If I remember right, she was a helper.
Yeah.
But Jeannie was so cute. I remember that.
Okay,
what?
should I just
Cute.
move on? Okay, next question. What do you remember about the first day of school for your children?
I think we got a picture of Ken getting on the bus, don't we?
Yeah. But that was, well, maybe that was his first school, because he started school when we were living out here, didn't he?
And that was probably at Huff Corner.
I don't know when
Yeah.
that started.
You were in there.
All I remember is a joke that we heard from him. He didn't think it was a joke, but he said at that school the water was running up the steps. Up the steps. It wasn't running down. But we talked to his teacher and she said, the water's leaky out there in that school, and it just leaks and runs out.
No wonder you just went there 2 or 3 years.
Was there something special that had happened to you, Brian?
I don't think so. I thought that the picture they were talking about was about me.
Okay, next question. What do you remember about your parents' death and funerals?
I remember when my mother died, they did hold that in the church building. And when they pulled her casket down the aisle, out to the kind of the vestibule, I remember that Dad, when he came out, he just hugged that thing.
Oh,
He said, "Oh, mother, mother."
that's sweet.
I remember that.
Can you remember anything, Thelma?
Not very much. My father had lost he was ill with some kind of disease, and he just lost his ability to keep things operating, like his bowel movements and all that. It was just, and Mother was, really upset about it too, but wasn't much you could do about him. He just gradually got into that situation. When they started coming over here to help Dean out with some of the work, and which they like to do, they came a certain way through Elkhart. And the last time he drove over here, he had driven through that stop corner and hit another car. And so he didn't drive anymore after that. My mother had to drive whenever they had someplace to go. And my mother was in the nursing home here, and she had diabetes, I guess, because she would be really, all worked up. I'd go in and see her, and sometimes she remembered who I was. And it was so funny, I thought, that she could remember me as her mother or her older sister. Her older sister, Nellie, was Aunt Nellie, and Aunt Nellie didn't have any children herself, but she was the one my mother had to give a little thought to, I guess.
I don't know when you remember, Mother, but you remember where you were when you found out that she had passed away?
We were down at your place, weren't
Yeah,
we? Yeah.
yeah, you were down there, and so you and Daddy went back quickly. And it seemed like I had just been in this area too. I don't remember why, but anyway. And
Were you here then when the funeral took
It
place?
was in the wintertime. I remember calling because
Yeah.
they called me at the nursing home and said, "We can't get a hold of anybody. Do you know how to get a hold of somebody?"
Kathy, didn't you remember something about
I
days?
remember when we went to his dad's funeral. It was a Sunday afternoon, and we went after church, and Daddy was speeding down there. And I thought it was so wrong for him to be speeding. He said, "We got to get to this funeral."
Was that my dad's?
Yeah,
And at
You
that
remember
time,
what
I
else
was
happened
expecting
about
June.
George?
no,
You don't remember?
yeah. Well, you tell it.
Well,
Merle
he,
first.
well, I remember about George. He was in the Pendleton Reformatory down toward Indianapolis. And he had an escort, a police escort, to bring him to Dad's funeral. Kind of a sad occasion.
But Jean being there was a good occasion, because I'm sure she's gonna be born pretty soon. It's about a week after that. She said her birthday's on the 24th,
Yeah,
and he died
On the
a week
14th.
before that.
yeah.
10 days before.
Okay, what childhood memories impacted you and your family the most?
At childhood memories. You mean the things that the kids did
No, I think in your childhood.
in my childhood?
Isn't that what you meant?
I would think so,
Well,
yeah.
you know, I remember we generally always planned for company on Sunday. And we had a visiting preacher, and it was up to us and maybe one or two others to have them home for. And Mom, she did her best too. She's a good cook, and I just kind of look forward to that. We had a lot of company.
We didn't have the preacher out as often as you might think, because we lived so far from town, like 10 or 12 miles out there. And I remember when I was younger, Mother would invite the preacher to come over. And sometimes they did, some did, and some couldn't for some reason. But we probably didn't have the preacher as often as his mother did, because she was there close by. And
Is she talking loud enough?
oh, I'm not talking very loud.
No, I say loud enough.
Okay, want me to ask, all right, where did your parents work?
My mother did not work at any place else but home.
And a garden.
And a garden, and the chicken house, and doing anything else, going out in the orchard and getting wormy apples and stuff. She'd cut them up in 50 pieces, it seemed like. She'd make something out of that. My dad worked at Studebaker's. He started working at Studebaker's when he was a young man. And after he had been there for a while, you know, maybe 4 or 5 years, he developed
TB,
pneumonia, not
tuberculosis,
Huh?
TB.
Yeah, TB, but it wasn't because he had gotten the disease, I don't think, but it was because where they worked in factories in those days, they had very little fuel removal and all that kind of thing, and that really got him down. And so he came out and stayed at home for a while, and then my grandfather was going to go to, up to Wisconsin and do collecting logs and things like that, and then selling a big load of them. So my dad decided that he would like to go up there with him too, and it really helped him to get over that TB. So,
And my dad, I remember, to begin with it, I remember, he hauled fencing, and back of our house, what they called in the tile pond, they made tile. There was a tile factory back there, and I think he delivered some tile. You know, drainage tile around the different, and then he went into the insurance business, and T.J. Ewer, one of the elders in South Bend at Calvert and Caroline, helped him to get started in that. And then he became a jeweler, you know, pretty good watch repairman. You know, he had his little things, you know, and
he was
did
still
that.
selling insurance at that time,
Yeah.
and still.
And
working
then
on
then
it.
they had a store in Swayze where they sold furniture for a while. So he had a varied occupation.
And the girl said that your mother,
She worked at the candy
she
factory.
worked at, well, she worked in a little place uptown, which was a hat store, and she made hats in that hat store.
Yeah, did she work at the canning factory?
Well, that was when you were growing up, I
Yeah,
think, but
that
not
was,
back then.
So they meagered out a living for us.
Okay, did you have any childhood diseases?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was now.
I think I had a tonsillectomy, but that wouldn't be a disease, I guess, but, no, I
I-
had.
I had some kind of a disease.
You had knee problems, Mama.
Well, that was when
That
I was
wasn't
in,
a disease.
when I was in high school, I fell down the stairs and knocked one of my kneecaps out of place. My mother thought maybe she better take me to the hospital and have it checked. And they put a cast on that leg that I had on there for about 6 weeks, I think. And of course, by that time, when I took it all off, it was all skinny looking and all kinds of stuff, you know.
But you
But-
don't remember which childhood disease you might have had?
Oh, something else, I don't know, like the measles or something like that.
You were allergic to
or-
penicillin, man.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about having mumps.
Well, that was when,
That was when you were a young adult.
yeah, Kathy and I both had mumps. And I was concerned about having Ken at home at that time because he was only about 6 months old. So Mrs. Sullivan, that lady that lives next door to where the church building is, their family took it and kept him for about 4 days. So that was a real treat. We could both go to bed then and, you know, sleep and rest and get over the mumps and didn't have to take care of the baby. So that was a real nice deal.
Do you have any health problems that are hereditary now?
I don't know that I did.
You don't know that yours was hereditary, do you?
The only thing, I have a hurt in my chest once in a while, but I don't know that it's heart related. But Dad had, I guess he died of a heart attack or something. He was in the car in Marion, and I think the keys were on, maybe the headlights were on when they found him slumped across the steering wheel.
I had the things that little kids had. If we didn't get together with our cousins or somebody, we probably wouldn't have got things, but I had lots of cousins, and whenever our grandpa would come up to visit, why, we'd all be together, and then next week we'd find out who had what, you know, which kids got which. There was always something going around, see, like in those days. Now the kids don't have that many diseases in school, I don't think. Maybe it's more things like is in the news nowadays too.
Kids have asthma nowadays.
Do they, yeah.
Respiratory problems.
Okay, next question. Have you ever been a victim of a crime?
Oh, boy.
Victim. You were Daddy, or Kathy?
Dad was.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Daddy
At
was.
the
The
motel?
motel was robbed.
Oh, the victim of a crime.
Yes. Have you ever been a
Yes.
victim of a crime?
Yeah. Now, basically, we operated our motel, which was 16 years. We never locked the rooms at all. We just trusted everyone that came off the toll road. We did lock the office. And we always put a note on the door saying, we've gone to church. You pick out the room that you want, and we'll see you when we come back.
And sometimes if they
But-
were already in bed, we had to wait till morning to get any response out of it. you know,
But
if
the only
were long
time we were robbed a couple times. One time, a TV set was taken out of the room, and I'm not sure, but what we heard the fellow leave maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Didn't know where he went. And another time, I had a fellow to come into the office, and when I went behind the counter to wait on him, he pulled a gun on me. And he said, "Give me your money." Didn't have too much. He knew he had $20 or $30 on hand. And
So we went
he
and
locked
robbed
me in
another
a
one,
closet,
didn't
not locked me in, he put me in a closet. He said, "You stay in there." And when I was kind of afraid to come out, he had left and left in a car. And we didn't know until maybe later that night that he had gone up and robbed, what's the
he?
name
The
of
toll road was
it? Bailey Motel,
Oh, the one there now.
right next to the toll road.
Oh, Bailey's.
And we didn't know all about this until, well, we heard about the second robbery up at Bailey But they caught the fella later on, and we had to identify him. He had some of the things on him that was taken out of the motel, especially the Baylor Motel.
And he told you why he was doing that, didn't he?
He told me what, Kathy?
Didn't he tell you why he was needing the money?
I kind of forget. I mean, maybe.
Well, I think he had said that his wife was really ill or something and he needed something for her.
Well, that might have been. I don't remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we'll
I
do
remember
something
that.
like
It was
that.
his
Yeah.
story.
You know,
I
back
remember
then,
that.
back then, people trusted each other. And I think if you would show your trust like a sign on the door, they would even trust you even more. And we didn't have much problem, but if we were to go in the motel business today, I don't think we could begin to operate that way. Things have changed, as you all know.
Okay. Have you ever been in a serious accident?
The only one serious thing I think happened is when Brian fell from the upstairs.
Kent, honey.
Huh?
Well, I don't know what you're gonna say.
The house you built, I believe.
That's
out there.
Kent.
Kent, yeah, Kent. That's right. Kathy and Kent were out there with us, and we told them, be sure and play back away from that hole in the floor where Dean was going up and down.
Is the opening where I would put a stairway.
And he fell down that thing and landed on the cement floor down below, and he was real quiet, you know. We were real concerned, so we finally took him to the hospital, and they checked him out and said, well, he's well alive, you know. If you don't have any problem, don't worry about it. It worried us, I'll tell you. We didn't know whether we'd saved him or not.
I don't know if you ever had a really accident. have you?
Neither one of you have really had an accident?
I don't think so.
Very lucky. Okay, we can move on
Well,
then.
one time, a few times when he had my dad working for him, and he was underneath the trailer, the motel.
I remember that one.
And he was up above, Dean was up above running a
No,
grill.
we were both down below.
Oh, both of you?
Yeah, we were
Well,
both
how'd you get the thing in his hat?
in the crawl. Well, that was a different time. We better not get into all of that. But
Anyway.
we were throwing out some pipes that had frozen under the motel, and I had a Bunsen burner, and I had turned it on for some reason. I got Roy's
his
hat
phone?
on fire, wasn't it?
I don't know what it was.
And boy, we were fanning things around, but luckily, the oxygen the air wasn't moving through there very fast, so we finally beat the thing out, but that was kind of a close call. Another time I was hammering on one side of the rafters and Roy was on the other side, and some way, it almost, it hit his hat.
Yeah, it drilled into his hat and flipped it off of him, you know? So he didn't have.
I remember one time that Leland, a fellow that was working for me, he was only about 16 years old. They were up on a scaffold, and Roy and Leland was up there, I think, putting the soffit on. And Roy dropped his hammer. Roy never said much, you know.
My dad, Amos,
Yeah.
dropped his hammer.
And he looked at that. He said, "Oh, hammer." And Leland about fell off the scaffold. Now, what was the question?
Oh,
Any accidents?
A serious
I guess, on
accident, yeah.
I remember when I was driving a truck. That's
Oh, we had several serious things.
was that after the Africa trip? I was driving a truck and I pulled it up to where I was supposed to park it on the driveway without taking it into the garage. We were making a delivery. And I went inside and asked them where to park the truck. And they said, well, just bring it in here and put it over here. So I went out, started the truck, started in. The garage opening was about this much shorter than what my truck was.
Oh, no.
And it kind of clipped the top, and that was a damaging experience. I was probably going 4 or 5 miles an hour.
We had several things that turned out that way. You know, like he went through this, one of the places in Chicago where if your truck was too tall, you couldn't get through the place where you went to pay, you know, or something. It wasn't cut out tall enough. And one of them, he had a a truck that had a nice high round hood. He scraped some of the top of it off, and we drove off into a bare field that looked like there wasn't anybody around there, and he painted some of it. I don't know where he got paid. I don't remember that.
Oh, well, let's go on.
Okay. Do you remember? Okay. Do you remember the first time you saw a color television set or indoor restroom or something like that?
Hey, we had indoor restrooms when I was small in our house. I
Yeah,
think,
he would have, we didn't when I first was little.
well,
Didn't have
and the
that.
first time I remember color TV, we were in the Marion Coliseum
Yeah, watching the ball game. weren't we?
watching the ball game.
That was great. Oh, we couldn't hardly see it, you know, it was so blurry, but
But I don't know if they had color television, that was black and white, wasn't
yeah, back then it was.
it? I don't know when that was.
Carl and Jesse had the first color TV around here, didn't
Who
they?
did?
Carl and Jesse.
Did they?
Yeah,
I think
but
so.
we probably didn't have, we probably just had a black one, you know.
Thelma, did you say you didn't have an indoor restroom?
Well, different places where we lived. The last place where my folks lived, I believe they put in a restroom that was all working. The house had been a very nice house with a restroom upstairs and the restroom downstairs, I think. But they had gone to pot, whatever, I don't know. But they put in that again, and so we had that all the time. I was in the 9th grade of high school finishing.
Okay. Do you remember your family discussing politics or world events?
I remember my Uncle Kessler. What was his name? His
I
son.
mean Kenneth.
No, Jay Kessler's father.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Kessler, anyway. Well, my folks would go to see Jay Kessler and his wife, Kath. What was her name? Aunt
Elsie?
Elsie, yeah. Aunt Elsie was my dad's younger sister. And we'd go to her house sometimes after church on Sundays, and Mother would say, well, I didn't bring anything, but I could go down to the store and get something if you wanted to have lunch. So they would have lunch, getting it ready. And all the time, my dad and Jay were talking about important things, you know, like whether or not there's really going to have unions in this factories where they were working, you know. And back at an early time, they didn't want anything to do with the unions, but fine, of course, they took over. That's the reason Studebaker's was out of business later.
I don't remember my folks talking about politics.
Oh, I'd like to go and hear those men talk, because they could sometimes disagree a little bit, you know, they'd be talking about it really a lot. And I just enjoy sitting there and listening to them better than playing with their kids.
Okay, this kind of goes with it. Do you remember hearing how your parents felt about social security or income tax?
Well, they didn't have to pay taxes, but of course they did.
Social Security came out it started 1933.
I don't remember anything, or even hearing them
Anything.
talk about it until I was an adult
I
child.
don't remember them discussing that.
No.
How did the Depression affect your families?
Well, to think of what I remember about it, I don't think I remember anything good or bad about the Depression, you know. My folks and their brothers and sisters were all hard-working people, and I just didn't, I don't know.
I imagine that's why
Yeah.
Dad took different jobs just to feed his family. There were 9 in our family, and Beulah died just a few weeks after she was born, and the other one was a few years old when she died. So there were 7 of us that were living. And
That's quite a
of
big.
course, I came along a long time after the others. Some of them were even out of the home. So, but Dad took several jobs, and I think during the time of the Depression.
I told you before what my dad did for work. He worked at Studebaker's most of his adult life, and he was retired. He was able to retire just before Studebaker's closed down the plant, and a whole lot of workers did not get any kind of income after they were moved out, you know.
Okay, which U.S. president is the first you remember?
I can remember when I was a girl, I was listening to the radio and one of the presidents was on the radio. And my mother wanted me to do something like break beans or something, I can't remember what it was now. And we sat there all day doing that, listening to whoever was going to be president, but I don't remember who it was. I was about 10 or 11 years old.
I remember when I was in high school, don't know who was running, but I remember Wendell Wilkie. Remember that name, any of you? And he came to Upland, which wasn't too far from Swayze, and we knew about it, and the Grant County band went out to meet them and kind of, you know, parade and so forth. But I don't know, he didn't win. I forget who did win that year.
Probably Roosevelt.
That was in the early 40s.
Do you know which presidential candidate did you first vote for?
Kennedy, Eisenhower was one, first ones I voted on, I believe.
Was Kennedy done in 62?
Yeah.
He was 63.
63.
That wouldn't have been the first one you voted
No.
for, though.
No.
I don't remember when I...
You would have been eligible to vote in the 40s.
Was Eisenhower right along with him?
He was in the 50s,
He
I
was in
think.
50.
I probably
52.
voted for him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did. We were
Eisenhower was a Republican,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
he-
Yeah, so that's who we voted for.
Yeah, we were Republicans.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know why. But
Okay, what were you
I
doing?
remember we went to Washington D.C. with Kent and Kathy, and I was expecting Jean at that time,
Leslie.
and
Leslie.
Leslie, and when we went out to see a parade that President Eisenhower was going to be in, and they went down the road, and Daddy's camera run out, the film ran out, and he didn't get anything more of just the tail of that session.
It was this movie camera.
It is a movie
Yeah.
camera, yeah.
Okay, what were you doing when you heard about the Pearl Harbor bombing? Do you remember?
I remember going out home from church to hear about that. We were on our way home from church, we
And
turned
you
it off.
heard it on the radio?
Huh?
You heard it on the radio?
Yeah, we had a car radio, and they said, you know, about bombing over in, I forget what they call it, Hawaii, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around
We
Hawaii.
lost several ships out there.
Yeah, well, that's a lot
Were
of
we
men,
together
too.
when we...
Oh, no, not, we weren't together.
41.
That was
41,
it.
I don't know.
You would, that was back in those days when we had two things to
Well, that
remember
brought on
each
the World War I, didn't it? Yeah.
Two,
sure, that-
two.
Two.
Two, I mean.
Yeah.
I remember, when Kennedy,
Oh, that's the next question.
okay.
What were you doing when you heard about the Kennedy
It seemed to me we
assassination?
were in a furniture store buying something like this.
Yeah.
It
When
was
we
a
heard
stereo,
about
I
It was a
believe,
table that we could play records in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turntable.
Like a card table, and it had a top that moved, you know. And yeah, we were listening, you were holding some baby while we were looking
Leslie.
around for that, and we got
No, it
television.
would have been me,
Jean?
Yeah.
because I was
63.
only a couple
Yeah,
months
okay.
old whenever he got killed.
Oh.
Texas.
It would have been you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what were you doing when you heard about the World Trade Center Pentagon attacks? That would have been
Well,
recently.
we sat
Well,
down,
5 years ago.
we sat down and listened to the TV or radio, you know, after we finally believed it. I think Veda called us first and told us something had happened there. But there wasn't much we could do but just listen, you know, or else
Yeah.
go ahead and do your work.
For several days, that's
Oh, yeah.
24-hour coverage.
The Gaithers have a good tape that they have of how that was happened and how a lot of people were involved in that area because it was in New York City. And apparently, I think they were in New York City at that time.
Okay, how did World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War affect you?
Well, of course, I was in World War II. And I think I mentioned that I helped to finish the war by being in 9 months, and they discharged me. I got an honorable discharge.
When I was growing up to the age where people, the older boys, were going into service, Lawrence and Leroy and Warren and another cousin, they were in the service then, you know, and that was something new for us. And a couple of my uncles were in the service. I think Kenneth and Elmer were both in the service. And, you know, that was something we could think about and wonder whether they were still alive or not, you know, and things like that. But we didn't have anybody that died in the war. Like Judy's husband died in the well-known attack of going over into Egypt. I mean, to Germany, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was killed getting off the plane and going in.
Now Kenneth, he got out and he finished his schooling. He became a professor. And
Yeah.
we have a book in there written by your uncle.
He taught it at Arson. I want to say Arson. That's not.
Harding,
No, one in Nashville.
Lipscomb.
Lipscomb. Yeah, he taught at Lipscomb for a while, but he liked to keep his own definition of things sometimes and studies that he had, and they wouldn't agree with him on all of it. So he finally left there, and got into studying. Mind problems and things like that. And married a lady that was having that kind of problems, and she passed away.
I remember Kent was prevented from going to Vietnam because of his foot. You know, that was about the time when they had the draft, and he wasn't drafted because of that.
Okay, moving on. What were the hardest choices you have made?
Hardest what?
Choices
Choices.
you have made.
I don't remember really any hard choices.
Okay. Do you remember any person that changed the course of your life?
Any one person?
Yeah.
Well, I remember when we were holding what we called teenagers in the church building, that Thayer and Sherry Salisbury, who had been in Africa and Nigeria, we invited them to speak to all of our teenagers. We probably had 40 or 50 there. And he told about their experiences there in Nigeria. And he said, you know, what a lot of people do, they were so poor, they couldn't afford to bring up a child, even if it was born in the family. They had abandoned them along the side of the road. And he said, what we really need over there is an orphanage.
Well, Thayer's the one that said.
Thayer's the one who was
Yeah.
doing the talking. He said, we need an orphanage over there.
And I looked
where
at Dean and he looked at
abandoned
me.
children- Abandoned
Yeah,
children
that'd
could
be
be
the
placed
thing.
in there. And he said that we have a fellow close to the college compound over there in Upalm that was willing to donate land to build an orphanage. All we need is someone to supervise the construction of it.
Well, and raise the funds on it too.
Partially raise the funds for it. And after he left, I began to talk to Mom, and he said, maybe we ought to do that, you know.
And I was really interested in too, because
But
I
now,
had
Mother-
a lot of Bible correspondence people. You know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Well,
There's a
we
lot
know
to be
there's
said about that. But she had just come out of a kind of a bad depression at that time, honey, if I remember right.
Yeah.
The doctor said that you ought to get out of the teenager business.
Oh, uh-huh.
And, but we talked it over, and we thought maybe we could go to Africa and be a part of that work over there that
What's
he
the name?
suggested.
What's the name of the children's home? What is the name?
It's called the Bafan Abasi Children's Home. Bafan Abasi.
Those
M-F-A-N.
African names?
Well, sure, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
know what it means?
No. But one thing I remember that John Beckloff, who died falling down the stairs a few years after we knew him, but he said that when the college started over there in Upalm, UKPOM, that the spiritual priests around there called the land that was to be, the college was to be built on, Juju, J-U-G-J-U. That meant that it was a spiritual thing, and we better not develop that land at all for
Better stay away from there.
Yeah, stay away from that completely. But of course, our people went in there, they didn't pay any attention to that, and the college really progressed, and it's still going over there, doing a great job.
And that was right, that's where we lived. We lived on campus, and the place he built the children's home was a mile away or so, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this Bob and Joan Dixon that visited us about a month ago, I was telling you about, they saw that I had to walk to the orphanage site every morning, and they loaned me their car, and I really appreciated that. Because
you-
I would get
that was
so
good.
hot out there.
I thought you were driving Dr.
What happened?
Beecham.
What?
You weren't driving Dr. Beecham's car?
Oh, who, John Beckwell?
Beckwell?
No, it was Dixon's car.
Hey, you came up with your Nigeria experience in response to a question of what event changed your life or who changed your life. How did Nigeria change you?
Oh, well, I tell you, I felt so sorry for those people. You can't imagine what kind of situations they live in. And, you know, if they make $150 a year, they'd be pretty lucky if they could find a job. They'd have a little garden spot, maybe as big as our living room. They'd try to live off of that. So it was an experience that I thought any one of our children or anyone else would have an opportunity to go to a place like that, just to find out how the third world countries live. It was really something, and you had good, you know, in Italy you had everything fine.
Yeah, we have
But
good
in
living
Africa,
conditions.
Nigeria, they were very glad when I hired them to work on the orphanage.
Yeah,
And
they-
their average wage was about 90 naira a day, which is equivalent to about $1 or $1.20 of our.
And those guys would walk across the foundation they had made for that place, and all that was in there was broken up rocks. You know, things they'd splattered and broke up just to make it. They walk across there in their bare feet with a big bowl of concrete riding on their heads. I don't know how they could do it.
It'd take a long time to tell about the things of
Oh.
Africa. We wouldn't have time for that.
Should I go on, Ron? Is there anything you would like to change about yourself?
Yeah.
Take a few
I
years
don't know,
off.
Any
Julie.
physical problems we'd like to disregard, you know.
What is the scariest thing that has ever happened to you?
Toward the end of my 3-month stay, 3 months plus stay in Nigeria, I had about 20 workers working for me. And I depended on a fellow by the name of Ekpo, who had superintended some work that John Beckloff had done on the college campus. So I worked through Ekpo. He could work with these men who understood their language, and I couldn't very well. Many of them spoke English to some extent. There was one fellow that had a history of coming to Nigeria, and he had just killed someone in another place. And toward the end of the time that I was there, we ran out of money.
And out of time to get it finished, too.
And we were trying to get us finished because we had a kind of a visitor's visa. We had to be out in 3 months. By the way, we didn't get out in 3 months.
We
because
didn't
They
read it
penalized
right,
us, I
yeah.
think, $500 for a few days over. But anyway, toward the end of that time, this fellow that Ekpo had hired, he became even scared of him. Look, he was trying to work with the other workers there to kind of conspire against me, holding back money and things like that. We were destitute of money for a while, and I promised all of them I'd do my best to get money for it. But he got kind of violent about it. And I was threatened to tie me to it.
Wasn't there a banking shutdown that kept you from exchanging into Naira?
Something happened that we always worked through the college treasurer to get the money, and something happened there that it didn't come through. For about a week and a half, I kept promising them money, you know, and finally it came through. I said, "You're going to be paid, but we don't have it right now," and they thought I was lying to them.
Were they used to being paid every day?
Every
or-
day, at the end of every day,
Oh,
they would
okay.
get their pay. Yeah. The let's see, the workers got about equivalent of $1 a day, And ECPO got between $2 and $3 a day.
In hindsight, would it have been better to have all the money on hand there?
Well, Jeannie, we did have it in a bank, so to speak, but for some reason it was tied up for a while.
Yeah, I think that the president shut down the banking system because of what he
Corruption.
claimed was corruption in the banking system. It might have been the president that was corrupt.
You mean their president?
Yeah.
That's probably true, Brian. I just don't remember. All I remember, I was out on the job just pleading the fellows to go ahead and work. I promised them that they would be paid, and of course, after a while, they didn't believe me. So one fella kind of made a threat, but it was toward the end of our stay, and they were finally paid everything that I owed.
Okay. As adults, what organizations have you belonged to?
Oh, like,
We've tied up with the church so much, we didn't really, I don't remember. You
we
know,
like
do
to
you,
go to
Brian?
these lectureships and things
The
like that.
realtors,
Here-
Realtors
Well,
Association, and
Yeah, of course, that's, I don't know whether you mean that an organization. or
Yeah,
not.
any type of organization. I
Well,
know
I
the
had to-
church, but
I had a salesman's license that I got, and then after several years, I got a broker's license. And a short time after I left Tom Schrock, who was with Caldwell Banker, I went out on my own. And I was ready to do that for a while, but I decided that maybe I wouldn't go any longer. I was 62 years old, and I wanted to maybe do some other things.
And we had a house that was empty for a while, and that was really always very unusual, because usually the house is sold before he got them quite finished, you know. And we moved into that brown house down here on Town Line Road, you know. You kids like that. They like the idea they were going to move into one of the new houses, the only place we ever moved into a new house, you know. Well, we were there for a little while and didn't know whether he was going to sell it or not. When he sold it, why, we had to move out then. Move into that old brick
Was
house.
that the
That's
time?
the one over there.
Is that the time where we moved, and then the other people moved, and then the other
Yeah.
people moved?
I think
There's
there's
three
a
of
Three
three-way
of us
swap
moving
there.
at the same time.
Mrs. Simpson and her husband and another couple that she knew.
now, Mother, weren't you involved in garden club and the hospital and that kind of thing too?
Not garden club.
Okay.
Homemakers.
Yeah, the
I was
homemakers
in
club,
homemakers
yeah.
club, yeah.
right, and then you did volunteer at the hospital auxiliary.
Yes, I would like to do that now, but I can't get around good enough on my feet, but I like to do that.
I remember delivering Meals on Wheels with you too.
Oh, yeah. She would
The
have a lot of
funniest story
stories.
that we ever had was Norm and Mary Lynn and Dean and I. Mary Lynn and I were out delivering meals one day, and her car broke down for some reason, don't know why.
And she called Lauren to come out.
She called Norm to come after us. Well, he came after us, and the two of us were in the car ahead of him then, because he got the thing running, whatever was wrong with it. And on the way home, it broke down again, and Marilyn and I didn't even see that he broke down. We were sitting in the car laughing and going on real big. He could see us, you know, and we went off and left him there.
He said, I could see the mouth going like that.
So
I
when we
remember
got to
Mother
him,
saying
he wasn't laughing or anything.
He was mad, wasn't he?
That was the one time she actually saw Norm bad.
Yeah, so the only time I ever saw him get mad. Well, Marilyn and I did a lot of things crazy, I guess.
Okay, what has been your favorite vacation and why?
Well, Alaska.
I guess, maybe last.
You know, if we were thinking about places we went, there were some things about it we didn't like, but then that was
It would have been more fun if we would have traveled with
a church group.
a church group or a Christian group.
That's why they're putting this ad in the bulletin that comes with our church bulletin, saying they're going to Alaska next year in July.
You know, these Thermans?
Gospel minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't say what it cost. They didn't tell that. But the trip we took, there was all kinds of people on that trip, you know. They were all pretty well expended people, you know, but most of them were drinking most of the time, so.
Okay. What pets have you had, for the record?
Pet?
Fifi.
Pets.
Fiffy.
Fiffy. But have you had any other pets?
Was your kitty named anything, Jean?
No, I knew it was.
She even
but
break a hole.
That wasn't what we called it though.
I remember that cat.
Is that the one that ran out in the street and got killed?
Yeah.
I think so. The
Oh,
ducks.
yeah.
I
a bunch of
carried it in.
cats.
It was like carrying a plastic bag full of bones that were all.
Remember the ducks?
The duck? Did we lose ducks too?
Yeah. There were some ducks and a big dog came and chewed them or something.
Oh, yeah, they eat the dog.
On there in Michigan Street?
No, at the motel.
That's a motel.
Oh.
Didn't even
In the
remember
pond
dogs.
out here. You know, I think it's too bad we can't have a pond because it's just growing up in all kinds of weeds. Now, why did it do that when we were living at the motel? You guys would go out in the wintertime when it's frozen and walk around on the icy place.
Okay. What have you wanted to do but not yet accomplished?
I don't know either. There's a lot of things I think of I'd like to do, you know, but I don't know.
I don't know. I would like to see elders in the church over here before we do.
If I make a change, I hope I can go to a place like you and Helen lived in. It was a senior citizens place, and they had a separate dining room. You could go in there and buy your meal if you wanted to, or you could just make it in your own apartment. And they had a place that had a nice little living room, and then, you know, a half of a kitchen almost, but didn't have everything. But she could cook anything she wanted to in there. And that was really nice. And then they had a recreational room right on the same floor that they were in and everything. I really liked the place, and I think about that as being something, you know, we might have to get into someday, because he's got so many things in that garage out there that just need to be gotten rid of, you know?
We know.
We could get rid of it by selling this place, I think.
Okay, now this one might take a little thought, but what is the single most memorable moment of your life? What's the question?
Well, getting
What
married.
if we take 2 or 3
Getting
hours
married?
to think about that?
Okay, your wife said getting married.
That was the change in my life in absolute entirety.
And I don't think your mom was in favor of it, was she?
No. I was a junior in
Turn it
college,
off, Brad.
and I should have been able.
Thelma, you were saying your mom wasn't in favor of you getting married?
No, she thought I ought to finish college. After all, she'd saved up money for me to, more or less, she'd saved the money up because my dad didn't figure things up. He let her take care of their books. And I only spent, I think it was $700 or something the first year I was in college. And I was pretty much a regular student. But, well, you know, I can understand why she felt that way, because we hadn't even been going together very long. She, you know, we should have known we didn't need to get married yet, because I had another year, and he hadn't finished college, so she didn't know whether that was the kind of person I would marry or not. No, goodness, I'm glad I didn't finish.
Dean, how about you?
Oh,
What is
yeah.
the single most memorable event of your life or moment?
Probably some things he did with his mother, because he was really close to his mother.
Yeah, we had a good friend, and like I mentioned about mother's death, and dad really, he went to pieces with that. I don't know, memorial things like that, you know.
Did either of your families have family devotional times?
Yeah, I remember some, Brian. Quite often we would have, before we'd go to church on Sunday morning, we would have prayer together. Before we did go to church.
My folks got us a Bible storybook for children. It was rather advanced, though, and it had everything detailed right at the beginning of it, what was included in that story, you know. But we would sometimes read that on Sunday afternoons or evenings if, you know, we didn't have anything on the radio that was decent to hear.
I remember when Mama did all of her washing, and of course she had a big family, and I remember the early cars that we had, Dad would have to do some work on them about it seemed like every Sunday. He'd been in his good clothes, and he'd be changing the oil or something. She'd want him to change clothes, but he said, "Oh, I'll be all right, you know." And,
You'd always spill something on them.
yeah, he'd always get his clothes dirty, and she'd have to do some extra work.
Did they have Sunday evening church? Whatever?
No.
You didn't?
I don't think so.
Have what?
Evening church.
Oh, at Donmore probably.
No, normal.
Yeah, normal, yeah. We always had evening church in South Bend.
Yeah. This was a little old country church that I went to.
Dean, how did your family become members of the church?
You know, Ruthie, I'm not sure about that.
They were already that way when he became part of it.
Yeah,
Mother and Dad were both members.
you mentioned about that, Brian. You probably know more about that.
Yeah, your dad's mother grew up in the church, and your mother grew up in the church, and her parents.
Were they from that section in Indiana?
I think
Or did they move in from
mother
somewhere?
was from Ohio,
Should I do this
and
one?
dad was from around Swayze.
But I think some of your mother's relations lived over in Ohio, and
Help me explain.
Yeah.
she came back over here to visit some that had moved over here. I don't understand what your reason
Okay, I just have one more question, one for each of you, and I'd like you to answer it separate. So we'll do Dean first. And it's just a series of questions, just one word answers. And if you don't have an answer for it, you can just say pass. So this is sort of like, you know,
The first thing that comes to your mind.
what or who is your favorite, okay? So, who is your favorite artist?
Artist?
Yes.
The Funny Papers.
Okay, who is your favorite author?
Author. No, pass.
Okay. What is your favorite board game?
Board game? I remember Monopoly.
And Scrabble.
And
Scrabble.
Scrabble. Right? That was
Scrabble.
later on in life. But yes,
Okay. Well, you can name either one. All right. What is your favorite book?
I like the Bible storybook that you had.
Okay. What is your favorite candy?
Probably Hershey bars.
Okay.
Almonds.
Yeah. What is your favorite card game?
Probably Rook.
Okay. What is your favorite color?
Probably Blue.
Blue. What is your favorite cookie?
Well, he's got them out there in a can. Those pinky cracker like.
What do you call them?
No, but they're.
Oh, the
cracker-
wafers.
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 Yeah, but
All right. What
he
is
always
your
has to have that on.
What is your favorite drink?
Probably Pepsi.
Pepsi. What is your favorite ice cream?
Swirl.
Swirl?
Swirl.
Not butter pecan?
Oh yeah, butter pecan.
Okay. What is your favorite flower?
I like the beauty of a sunflower.
Okay. What is your favorite fruit?
Peaches.
Okay. What is your favorite holiday?
Probably Christmas.
Christmas. What is your favorite meal?
Beef and noodles.
Beef and noodles. All right. Who is your favorite movie star?
Clark Gable.
Okay. Who is your favorite musical group?
Musical group? Well, the one I remember was our quartet.
Okay. What is your favorite painting?
Larry painting Buren, his dad, that hangs in Jerry's hallway.
I've seen that. All right. What is your favorite poem?
Let's see. I can't remember.
Yes.
His mother wrote a poem.
Who is your favorite poet?
I don't know.
Okay. What is your favorite restaurant?
Thelma's Kitchen.
Wendy's.
Wendy's. All right. What is your favorite season?
I like the fall.
Fall. Who is your favorite singer?
Bing Crosby.
Very good one. What is your favorite song?
White Christmas.
White Christmas cooking. What is your favorite sport?
Let's see.
Horseshoes.
Yeah, I'd say horseshoe.
Horseshoes, yeah, I would think so. What is your favorite tree?
Street
Tree.
tree. We planted poplar trees. We like that.
Okay. And what is your favorite TV program?
Let's see. I don't look at TV very much.
You turn
The
What would
news,
it
the
be?
the national news.
Huh?
The news. You only
news.
have 3 channels.
The news.
Sounds like me.
Oh, we got 6 channels.
Oh, you have 6 channels. I'm sorry.
I know what she's gonna say.
I'm not gonna say that.
Okay, Thelma, it's your turn
Oh
now.
my.
And if you don't know it, you can just pass. Who is your favorite artist?
Heidi in the movies, when I was a child, I got to go to see Heidi in the movies, and that to me was the most thrilling story I'd ever heard.
Okay.
So Heidi was that.
Artist?
Yeah.
Well, she was-
Who is your favorite author?
I can't remember it. What I enjoyed, and I mentioned to you, was this lady that built a place in Rome City.
Oh, Gene Stratford.
Yeah, she had written one story that was really
One
interesting.
word, one word is all I want. Gene Stratton Porter.
Okay.
Okay. What is your favorite board game?
Board game. I don't like to play board games.
Okay. Scrabble, probably.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite book?
I don't know, I liked Heidi real well, and I felt like that story that was.
One word, honey.
Well, let her
That's
go.
okay, it's all
She
right.
can talk. Let her talk, go ahead.
Well, what was the story where the girl went to, she had been,
Orphan?
Cinderella.
no, it's been rather recent, and the girl was singing, you know, and she was taking care of some children.
Oh, The Sound of Music.
Sound-
Yeah, Sound of Music, that was
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite story, I guess.
All right. What is your favorite candy?
Jumbo peanuts.
No, I don't know.
This is not yours.
Okay.
Yeah, peanuts are all right.
All right. What is your favorite card game?
The one he mentioned, I don't know it well.
Brooke?
Brooke, yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. What is your favorite cookie?
Cookies with chocolate chips in them.
Okay, chocolate chip. What is your favorite drink?
Lemonade.
Lemonade. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh. Well, anything from that house. Ice cream.
Oh, and how? Yeah.
Yeah.
You like strawberry a lot.
Yeah.
What is your favorite flower?
That one that came up this year has a big flowers in it out there.
Oh, what are those?
Hibiscus.
Hibiscus.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is your favorite fruit?
Oh. I think maybe peaches or strawberries. Strawberries come in so strong.
What is your favorite holiday?
Well, when we get together like these holidays, that we're having this week because of this thing.
Oh, his
I like
birthday.
that.
Yeah. Anytime the family gets
She wants
together is a
more
holiday.
birthdays.
What is your favorite meal?
Oh, I don't know. Chili, I guess.
Chili. Okay.
That's what I always fed my kids when we were kids, when they were kids. On
Who is your
Saturday night.
Who is your favorite movie star?
Oh, I don't know. Whoever that little girl was that played Heidi in the movies was my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is?
It wasn't Shirley Temple though, was it?
No, I don't think she played Heidi.
Quickly.
Okay. What is your favorite musical group?
Calm down.
The Gaithers?
Gaithers, yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite painting?
Some of the paintings that Larry had. He
Okay.
had, beside that one picture you saw of his dad, he had a really unusual picture inside of a Sunday newsletter. came out of New York City. They had put in that paper, and he was all dressed up like a guy that hid all of his money. He had all things on it, and you look at that, and he had money in everything, and that was one of his drawings. It was
Okay,
really,
what's your favorite poem?
all those poems that were in that children's book that we got for the kids when they were young.
Okay, who's your favorite poet?
I don't know.
Okay, we can pass that one. What is your favorite restaurant?
Wendy's?
No.
I don't know. Where do we like to go best? Brian?
Cracker Barrel. The one that you go with Leslie and Chad.
Yeah.
Bob Evans.
Bob Evans, okay.
Yeah,
Richards.
that's okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, what is your favorite season?
Christmas.
Winter, then? Okay. Who's your favorite singer?
Dean.
Dean.
I thought she was
All
gonna say
right,
that.
what's your favorite song?
He doesn't sing the favorite song I have. I want him to sing a certain song, but he don't do that.
What is the song?
What is the song?
That I like?
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple of them in the songbook. I can't tell you the names of them now. I can't even think of them.
Okay, what's your favorite sport?
Sports.
That might be a wrong.
What is sports?
Sitting outside in a wheelchair or something.
What's your favorite tree?
Favorite what?
Tree.
Tree. I don't know what your favorite one is. I like trees, but I don't know.
Evergreen.
Evergreen. Okay, what is your favorite TV program?
Gaithers.
The Gaithers? Okay.